flow got mortgage.
What's going on, guys? It's your favorite mortgage lender, Abdel Kouatmi, Got Mortgages. We are about to have in our studio a very special guest, my good friend, Danny Lottenberg. Danny is one of our loan officers, started with the team several months ago. He has already grown in just 6 months when he joined last year as the number one loan officer on the team. Danny comes from a wide different background in the world of concrete, landscaping, and so many different avenues that are non-traditional transitioning into the traditional sales mortgage role. If you're a professional out there, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation that we have. We dive into multiple different facets of his strong upbringing, some of the relationships he's building currently, some of the non-traditional avenues that he's actually seeing implement and bring success into his business. Make sure you guys tune in, and this is another episode of the Got Mortgages podcast. What's going on, guys? It's your favorite mortgage lender, Abdel Kouatmi, Got Mortgages, here for another episode of the Got Mortgages podcast. And we have got our very good friend, Danny Lottenberg. Danny, what's up, bud?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Good. First month of the year,
Yes.
done.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've always jumped into our pods and our episodes in the past, whether it's an AC or here in Tom's River. And I don't think we've ever had the chance to truly introduce you and get to know you, which is funny. So you want to take a second for our audience, introduce yourself, kind of let them know, who you are, what do you do, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, my name is Danny Lottenberg. Danny closes deals with PRMG Got Mortgages. Basically, I did this industry a long time ago, 20 years ago. I stopped to kind of start my own businesses, try different things I wanted to try. Got that out of the way. I love real estate. I always invested in real estate, always was involved with real estate somehow. I wanted to get back into it. I linked up with you, and then that kind of gave me the push because our personalities were very similar, and I just fell in love with the company, and I said, you know what, I want to get back into this full time, and here I am.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Now, so you did it 20 plus years ago, right? How did you get into the business in the first time?
So it's funny because I used to work, I was probably 21, 22 years old, and I was working in the mall, like undercover security, and I had clients that, high-end clients that did jewelry, this and that.
Sure.
So I had a mortgage lender who was a broker. He loved me. He's like, why don't you come work for me? He's like, I think you'd be great at it. And I went to work with him. It did pretty good. The business was totally different back then.
Totally.
The market took a dump. He packed up his stuff and left to another country. And that was the last I heard of him. I said, you know what? This business is not for me. Because I didn't know really about it. I was young. I didn't know much about it. And I kind of was like, maybe I'll get back into this one day. And, here I am.
Well, I'm sure I hate this thing, but the perception, right? We're all in sales. We all gravitate to, call it forces that we click with. Obviously, coming to a jewelry store, right? Probably gave like that perception of that guy's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of get to know him, right? Now, also back then, you didn't have to get licensed.
No, there was no regulations. And the way you did mortgages too was kind of like it's a little shady.
Totally.
He was showing me how there's points on the front, points on the back. And to me, I didn't understand it. He just like dollar signs. He was just like, hey, look, this is how you make this. And it was kind of like, I don't want to say crooked, but there was a little funny business going on with that. It wasn't regulated.
And I mean, that's one of the driving forces, obviously, that caused the housing bubble in 2008, amongst other stuff. But predatory lending was definitely one of the biggest ones. And then, obviously, it's funny, right? We had reached out, I think it was over the weekend.
Yep.
And I was talking to one of our partners, and we had mentioned how, certain sales professionals kind of just go in for the kill, as opposed to, really... building that rapport, building that conversation and stuff like that. And you obviously do a good job at that, right? What's kind of your take on that, right? You see a prospective client or referral partner, I'd love for you to walk through the steps of how you kind of like say, I want to do business with them and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, so like the whole sales process to me is I don't treat it like a sales process. So like I kind of like look at it like if I was a consumer, how would I want to be treated, right?
Sure.
It's kind of like dating, right? You meet a girl, right? You're not going to be like right away, hey, I'm Danny. This is what I have to offer. Do you want it? Like, no, they're going to be like, screw you. So you want to get to know them. You want to build a relationship. See if they're the right fit for you. I don't want to work with every client. You know, I want to make sure the client is like the same personality as me.
Sure.
We have the same goals. So I try to get to know people, and I try to build a real relationship and earn trust. And then once they trust me, if they want to work with me, great. And most of the time they do.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, you hear me say it all the time. It's demanding really the comfort level. Now, obviously we're always pivoting too, right? Like 4 or 5 years ago when, you know, it was the wild, wild west, actually fucking 5, 6 years ago. That's pretty crazy to say. 5, 6 years ago, you were able to close whatever because business was to an extent thriving. I mean, we've been blessed now to do more, but back then it was a little easier, so you could be picky, call it, right? Now when market's a little tighter, generally sales professionals are a little bit more not as picky. If that makes sense, because they need to pay their bills. And I love that you say that, and it's so funny when you take that mindset shift. You actually end up making more money.
Correct.
And it's I say that to myself over and over again. Now we try to literally get rid of clients and they don't go away. That deal's closing today, by the way.
Yeah.
So let's backtrack a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about the businesses that you had, and you know, your success in them and all that fun stuff.
So my first, it's funny, when I was 22, I was like, let me start a window washing company. You know, I did that for a while. I found out really quickly I didn't really like heights. So
That'll do it.
I made money. I did good. I got out of it. And then, you know, I partnered up with somebody. We did a landscape business and a concrete company. It was very successful. I did it for like 10 years. Did very well. You know, I had a partner. I kind of didn't like having a partner, whatever the case was. I got out of that business. My dream was always to own like a junk removal waste management company. So I looked at franchises and this and that. And I'm a research nut.
Sure.
So I did my research. I'm like, why would I pay someone 80 grand and give them royalty to have a franchise? So I did my research, did my homework, and I started my own. And within 5 years, I had 400 5-star reviews. I provided excellent customer service. I outranked all the local competitors, and I loved it. And, you know, something always draws me back to real estate. I always look at Zillow. I always talk to realtors. I love numbers. You know, I'm a numbers guy. I just love real estate. So it was calling me just to come back. I had enough of the blue collar, swinging a sledgehammer. I'm OCD, where I'm going to outwork my employees.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to swing a sledgehammer harder than you, and you better keep up with me. So I got tired chasing employees. I want to be a one-man show. Like, obviously, we work together, but I'm in control of my destiny now. If I work, 100%. I get paid. If I don't work, I don't get paid. And I love it.
And, you know, the obviously the most profitable businesses, in my opinion, are, you know, not what we were taught when we were growing up, right? Doctors and lawyers and certain stuff. It's the entrepreneur.
Sure.
Right? It is really that entrepreneur who's really looking to grow their business, really looking to add value, right? And then, of course, we start seeing it, and I could probably attest to you start seeing it, where partnerships are very difficult, right? Even myself, I've tried them before in the past, and I'm very quick to cut it out. One thing you mentioned, I kind of want to hone in on that before I even get into that point, was you mentioned being a research nut. Tell me a little bit more about that, because that obviously helped you, one, in identifying, you know, from the concrete business to the landscaping business, doing your research. Why do you want to pay? What's the ROI? What's a royalty? Whatever it is, business takeovers. Tell me how you kind of took that model and translated it into your current role now, right, within mortgages, and how that's kind of working out for you.
So, like any business I ever started, even getting back into this, I would reach out to 200-300 people that did this field. And I would ask them to say, what would you do differently if you started fresh? What are your mistakes? What are your pros? What are your cons? And that's how I linked up with you, actually, a while back last year. And now, you know, not everyone would answer me, but some would, and some would give good value. And I would take that and I'd write it down, and 6 months I would research it, do my, you know, my homework, and figure out, okay, this is how I'm going to do this. I'm not going to make their mistakes. I'm going to take the little piece of information from here and here and put it together. Sure. So now that I do this again, the same thing with like the loan products and the different ways we can close loans. I want to do homework. So I want to learn. I'm constantly asking you, asking Matt, asking somebody. I love to learn and find out different ways to be creative. And, sure. I write everything down. I go on a computer. I'll be up till midnight just researching like how I can get something done. And I love it. It's like exciting to have that, like, you know, research done.
So the point I wanted to make, and you hit it on the hammer, was, right, we're sales professionals. a majority of successful sales professionals, it's not the shot that you take, it's the shots that you take before, the practice, right?
Absolutely.
MJ would take a million shots until he actually got to the game. And who was it? I think it was Roger Federer, the super famous tennis player. And there was like a snippet from one of his speeches at a college, and he had said, "Do you know how many championships I won?" And it was X amount. And then he goes, "Do you know how many serves I hit and got?" And it was a high number. And then he goes, "Do you know how many percentage of points I lost?" And I think it was, don't quote me on this, guys. I think it was like 54%. I don't know if you heard. If
it was
you
a crazy
heard
high
that,
number. I did hear that.
thing. And he goes, even the world's best tennis player basically missed 46% of the serves or the hits back or points, I believe you mentioned. So you bring it up, right? Obviously, research, right? When we're researching our clients, when we're researching our partners, and all that fun stuff, and then going in somewhat with a strategic plan for them, right? Is that kind of the approach that you're taking?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I meet a realtor I really like or enjoy, I think their personality would match with mine. I'll Google them. I'll go on. We have software that we can find out how many deals we close, what kind of deals they like, who they work with. I want to find everything about them. Do they have a family or somebody I can relate to?
Sure.
I want to do everything my research before I contact them, so I know more about them, and then I want to talk to them and build on that and say, hey, we have something in common. Like, and hey, I see you did this X amount of volume. How would you like to improve that? Like, I want to help them. I want to help them grow because I love helping people too. So I enjoy it.
I love it. Now, I think this is a perfect segue to what I was going to ask just before this. Was you mentioned obviously softwares and techs and stuff like that help you identify that stuff. What I always find the difference maker between being that solo, person versus running and transitioning into the business was what we all call the art of delegation, right? Talk to me about that, because obviously even from back then, right, from the concrete days, from the landscaping business, I'm sure you weren't mowing every lawn, trimming every bush, pouring every concrete, hitting every job. Tell me about that, where you first started with the idea at 1:00 in the morning, and you're like, dude, I could do this landscaping and stuff. How has that also transitioned into your business now?
Well, if you don't delegate, you can't scale. That's the key to any. I don't care what job you have or business. If you can't delegate, you can't do it all. You can't invoice. You can't talk to customers, do the job, go get material. You can't do it all. And same thing with this. I can't talk to every customer, every realtor, every partner, and still do my files, still do social media, still do this blog post. I'd be working 24 hours a day with no sleep. So we delegate. Obviously, we have our VAs, we have assistants, and I have to learn, because that's a problem I had in the beginning. Is I want to do everything, because my philosophy is, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself, because no one's going to work harder than me. Yeah. It's for me. But you have to delegate certain things to free up your time. First of all, so you don't drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
And two, so you're more efficient and you enjoy what you do. Because if not, you're not going to enjoy it. You're going to crash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, very, very true. And I think that is probably the most difficult part when you're running a business. Is we talked earlier about it, and I believe I was talking with Sean. Shout out to Sean. Was wanting to do everything yourself and being that perfectionist, versus we always talk about it, the 80-20 rule, Pareto's 80-20 rule, identifying the tasks that you can delegate, the tasks that you can keep. And there's so many points where we have a lot of our sales strategies and even ops strategies so delegated that when I'm first building out these SOPs for us and we're taking each other's advice, I always sit there and say, damn, what am I going to do?
I'm sure you'll find something.
We all know that. But I think what ends up happening is you end up being busier in certain other avenues of your, sales profession or ops profession, which ends up bringing you additional lead flow and additional opportunities and stuff like that. Now I want to shift, and we've talked about this time and time before, but obviously since the last time we jumped on a pod, I know you and I have talked about some of your social media strategies, and I always say, just like mine, right? You're either going to like them or you're not, right? And you're definitely more cautious to catch the trendier stuff than I am. So I feel like now I'm getting old in that stuff, versus you were showing me, right, the one caricature
Yeah.
carousel, let's
Yeah,
call
the
it.
comics.
And it's funny since you said it, just like we were just sharing with Sean, right? Since we mentioned something, I see it everywhere. Um, how do you personally like stay on top of that without being caught up in the world of social? Does that make sense? Because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
like people who are watching, you want to get into social media, whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s,
Mhm.
whatever it is. But then we also kind of like in my world, like I don't gamble. So like I know that there's potential revenue to be made, but I also don't want to get caught in the pitfall
Sure.
of it.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like for some of our viewers, the older ones, for lack of translation or even younger, you don't want to get caught up in that pitfall. How do you navigate that? And talk obviously about the success because clearly it's benefiting you as well.
Sure. So like a lot of things I do is first of all, don't worry about being perfect. Like too many people are like, oh, I got to put on this perfect outfit and my hair and this and that. Listen, just do it. People like raw, live. Just go with the flow, like we're doing right now. Just whatever comes out of your mouth, say it. But what kind of helps me is I follow a lot of successful people that are good at this social media stuff. Like that's their only business. They're social media influencers. They're up with the trends. Listen, they do all that every day. That's their job. I'm a
Yeah.
mortgage lender.
Yeah.
I'm not a social media influencer. So let me follow the guys that know the trends. And as they pop up on my feed when I have free time, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a new trend. Let me try it. I'll go on ChatGPT, my little assistant, and whip something up. And I don't care if it's not perfect because if I waste time to make it perfect, guess what? To get an extra what? 50 views, 100 views, even 1,000 views. Who cares? It's not worth my extra hour of my time. I whip it up, quit, spit it out. If I have a free hour, I might make 2, 3 posts, and I'll spread them out through the week. And I don't care. I'll make something funny. I'll make something educational. Kind of just toss it up, and that's it. And like you always say, don't break what's not like. Don't fix what's not broken. Like go with the flow. If it's working, just do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you know the stat. I should have probably asked you before, but again, this is always unscripted, by the way, guys. Especially with our teammates. Do you know the percentage of business that came from your social?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you always say, you got to keep track of what's working for you because
Sure.
if not, you're just throwing rocks in a pond. You don't know what's hitting. So I get about 25 to 28, like in the mid to high 20% of my business through social media. It's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. I would say I get, they're 40% from sphere of influence and the rest from like partners and people I network with. But I would say a good 25 to 28% is from social media.
Yeah, and the funny part, and you kind of proved my point, was so many other sales professionals or real estate professionals or whatever, or even our own individual loan officers, probably think like 90% of your business comes from social.
Yeah. It's
Right.
not.
Like when we did so much work with social media, 23, 24, I think, like really, really hands on. So many people would assume that like 100% of our business came from social, and I think last year, to your point, we were at 19%,
Yeah.
which is awesome to see that you're very similar in that realm. But I know for a fact that we talk about this is your social media social sells for you, right? Like when we were in Atlantic City, you were running into very similar stuff that I'm sure a lot of successful entrepreneurs run into, where they're like, "Hey, I think I know you."
Mhm.
Or we jump on calls a lot of the times, and then partners would be like, "Hey, we know you," and what do we always say? Probably.
Yeah.
So I love that you identified that. Now, talk to me about referral partners and stuff like that. If you're a loan officer out there, how are you kind of uniquely identifying their like their strategies? Like, do you have like for me, some of my checkpoints are like I need them to be a percentage of buyers and sellers. I need them to be a percentage of not working with 1,000 lenders because it shows me disloyalty. I need a percentage of understanding that maybe their in-house brokerage doesn't have like 6 different lenders because they're just looking for a paycheck. What's kind of your criteria? Like, what's the picture perfect partner avatar for Danny Lottenberg?
I mean, honestly, I like to find people that it's kind of hard to word this, like almost somebody that didn't have a good year, right? Like their business kind of declined a little bit.
Okay.
Because my specialty is branding and social media and like getting out there and building relationships. So I love to teach that. So I love to help people fix their business and help it grow. And I look for people that are going to be loyal to me, that if I help them grow, they'll maybe want to work with me one day. They don't have to, but I genuinely enjoy helping them. But if I add value to them and do something different, most of the time they want to work with me because I'm doing something different. I'm not just saying, hey, I'll close a loan fast. Yeah, well, no crap. That's your job. Like, that's what you're supposed to do, you know?
And you mentioned obviously identifying partners who maybe had a somewhat tiresome year. How do you kind of attribute it? Is it more of like volume units? Is it like location? Like I really want to kind of hone in on this point because I know like that perfect avatar for you, but for the ones who are listening, like is it volume? Is it units? Is it like changes of we talked about it earlier in the conference room, like changes of brokerages, right? What do you kind of really pick to kind of be like, okay, this is someone that you could really build a deep relationship with?
So, like you said, with the brokerages, a lot of times I'll look them up and I'll see if you worked at 4 or 5 different brokerages in 2 years. It's usually a sign it's not the brokerage, it's you. Things happen. You want to change companies. It happens. You're somewhere for 10 years. The company kind of like is not providing anything for you, value. So you want to go somewhere else. But if you change brokerage to brokerage, you're looking for something that you're not getting. So I try to provide that for you and show you it's not the brokerage, it's you. You got to get out of that mindset and really push yourself and put the work in. Because a lot of these realtors and other partners even, they're like, this in a funk. Like, I get it, but you have to get out of that funk, push yourself, and if you do, business will come.
Yeah. It's an important point. Kind of shifting in the same topic, and I'll end on this one. But we always talk about networking, right? I'm not going to talk about tech on this because our viewers will get lost by the end of it. But let's focus a little bit about networking because you've obviously networked. You found your niche of partners. You're doing it somewhat of, let's call it, the Danny Closes ways, right? Where it's not somewhat of the typical traditional, larger successful networking groups, right? I remember you came and we spoke and we were masterminding on our business plan. And I know that was a big portion of you, right? Where social media worked, it's driving the business. Now networking, and I gave you some of my positive feedback where, our team, cause like a little bit of both, right? But then, our team came about and started somewhat similar to our own, but more of like a mastermind.
Correct.
Right? Rather than somewhat of the traditional perspectives that, again, are successful, but don't really, in my opinion, I feel like you kind of get forced to wanting to refer somebody. I mean, I can't tell you, dude, so many times I talk to people and they mention that they're a part of, a 3-letter organization or XYZ. And they kind of don't like that person, but they somewhat feel obliged to do it. Or you end up going outside of that group, which is kind of one of the purposes of doing it, and then kind of defeats the purpose. So tell me a little bit about what's Danny targeting, right, when it comes to networking over the next few months?
Yeah, so I'm actually, in the process of building my own little group that's different than those 3-letter, I'm not going to say the names, but basically, to me, it's like a cult. You got to pay a fee. You're forced to do this. You're forced to do that. You got to show up, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'm busy. If I commit something, I show up, but things happen, right?
Sure.
I don't think you should charge for that. So I'm trying to provide value to people in my group. So I already have a group of like 4 that want to start this up. We're getting more. And I want to get people that are hungry, that just want to genuinely build a friendship and grow together. And listen, if you have somebody that might need my service, great. If not, no hard feelings. I don't care if we go 2 years, you don't refer me somebody. But at least we can still talk about business and grow and give each other pointers. Like I might know somebody, like I have one lady who owns a business in Red Bank. She's a baker and a cookie company.
Yeah.
Sweet lady. She's awesome. She just moved to that location. So I want to tell some of my partners to go there and host an event or do something. That's what it's all about. She doesn't have to have a mortgage client for me, but I want to help her. And if one day she has somebody for me, great. If not, no big deal.
And to that point, right, one, I don't think we can ever knock the success of the hyper regimented networking groups, right? Because Lord knows I wouldn't have joined them.
Yeah.
They're successful. I mean, dude, like the organization I'm a part of, the chapter, and they're going to kill me. So don't kill me, guys, when you guys watch this. But I think it was like 40 million, maybe 14 million. It's a big disparity, but it's in the millions of how much business was passed around. No, I'm sorry. It's like in the 14 million of business passed around, and each seat is like 40,000. I love that they do that because I'm gonna geek. Sure. I'm gonna geek out, and I'm gonna be like, well, okay, the investment is there. I think the hardest part too is people's personalities, and I love that they do somewhat of like come visit us And I think it's a visit not just for the members to know you, but also for you to be like, this is something I can click with, and take it from there. Now, the professional that you mentioned in Red Bank, I love the idea of helping one another and stuff like that. You know, I'm a firm believer in that world. Now, you also took the spin of understanding her business, and I believe it's the same professional, and then connected her with our team in an effort to be like, hey, she needs some guidance and assistance in regards to some automation and delegation and stuff like that. I'd love to hear how that conversation came about. 'Cause it still kind of stays on what I said, the final topic, on networking. You know, so you've invested more. You're like, all right, you might not give me somebody who's looking to refi, somebody looking to sell, but I actually care about your success and hearing you out, and we can help you with a virtual admin to assist, right?
Yeah. So basically, we went to dinner, a bunch of us. We were just networking, talking, just getting to know each other. And she was telling me some of her struggles in the business because she's a one-person show, and she's got to invoice, she's got to do this, she's got to do that. I was like, have you ever thought about? She's like, try to hire people, didn't work out. I said, you ever thought of a VA? She's like, well, no. She goes, I had one a long time ago, but it didn't work out. I said, well, we have access to one of the top VAs around. And I told her about you and how you can set her up. And she was all into it. I was like, yeah, whatever you need, like the invoicing, answer calls, so you can spend time with your customers and delegate, like we said before, and free up your time to focus on growing your business, because you can't scale your business if you're sucked in the phones.
It's a very difficult task to do. You know, for so long in our business as a team, until really, I would say, beginning of 22, mid 22, especially when our world started to shift a little bit with rates and the market sentiment. I mean, I was getting burned out, and I'm not one to get burned out. And this is probably a very bold statement for me to say, because I'll never say that I'm burned out. But it was getting like I was on the brink. I probably had like 3% left in charge to want. And business was great. Don't get me wrong. But it's a very hard thing, you know. So if you're a business owner out there and you're listening to this, understanding the art of delegation, even if your capital is a little bit tight. As I always tell myself, I would rather see my bank account have $99 where that $1 was invested back into my business than $100.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's funny, man. It takes me so much, especially because, you know, we love numbers. Where I want to hit that like certain number of zeros in a bank account. And then that one time where it's off, especially as you grow, and you're like, damn, I'm spending X. I'm like, oh, but I'm investing back into this person. So that investment's going to bring obviously a return. If you're a business owner out there, you got to hear it from someone who's been doing it for about 8-9 months now, crushing it, came back into the industry, is obviously adopting multiple facets, not just social media, leveraging data, leveraging a lot of different opportunities from networking, from investing back, from leaning on the support that allows them the opportunity to continue to be one of our best loan officers on our team. Danny, any parting words?
No, that's it. Listen, if you want to do something, you just got to put the effort, man. That's all it takes.
I love it. Mic drop. Well, this was another episode of the Got Mortgages podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time. Boom. 3, 4.